Basically, it was started in Australia by people who were reacting against the Green Revolution. With all, after World War II, they had all these chemicals and stuff. Those big corporations, they didn't know what to do with them. Basically, they packaged them up and sold the idea of nitrogen and fertilizers, and that's how we got the big agribusinesses and the lawn, the idea of the deep green lawn and all that. It came out of World War II, which is too much crap. So in the 70s, there were people working, agriculturists, and I don't remember all the background of Mollison, Diego. Anyway, they were in reaction to, they were already seeing the pollution and the terrible things from the use of chemicals, and also that in the beginning the plants would get really tall, but their root systems were puny and terrible. And so after a few years, in the beginning you get a huge yield of crops, but it's not sustainable, it's not long lasting, and they were devastating fields. So in Australia, people started looking at how people had always done things, or imitating indigenous methods. How did cultures coexist for thousands of years? Look back, how did we ever populate the Earth? How did we get to be 9 billion, almost 9 billion people, without destroying everything? It's only in the last 100 years that it's been all the chemicals and the phosphates and the, all that stuff. So, let me see. This is off the cuff, so give me a minute. And they developed it with a series of ethics too, and there's only like 3 basic principles, which are earth care, which is care of the earth, which feeds and takes care of all of us. People care, which actually means animal care too. It's care and respect for all of the nature, and all of the symbiotic relationships between all the animals and insects and plants and things that some people have called weeds, but they're not weeds, they're just plants. And then the last is share the surplus. So it's built with the idea of equity and justice, and that the resources are not just for the 1% like they are now, they're for everyone. And then there's a whole series out of those. A few people have developed different principles, but a lot of they start with protracted observation. Anytime you want to work on a site, you take time with it. You look at it through the seasons. You could spend a few years evaluating a site before you really do work on it. You look at the sun, you look at the sun, the water,
that's what we're doing today.
And that's what we're doing today. But
piece,
this is quick. Normally you would be walking the land for quite a long time before you really think about where you're planting things, or where. The point is to intervene as a small, less intervention, and to have natural processes work together and to imitate nature, because nature has evolved in incredible ways with plants and insects and things feeding each other. And also peoples who have had to farm for years and years and years have learned how to do things with natural things and feed themselves. So that's one, is the slow, the observation, slow protracted observation. Another one is small, slow steps. So it's not thinking of big, massive earthworks. And you're thinking about the energy in and the energy out. And the point is you're not going to be buying all this other stuff. You want to be working with what you have. Maybe those will be all the ones I focus on right now. What other principles would you talk about in the beginning? The point is to obtain a yield. So you are trying to plant things so they get a yield, but the yield isn't always measured in just abundance of huge amounts of food, which is what they were, that was behind all the organophosphates. It's like, 10,000 tomatoes that all look alike. And, the yield could be food for habitat. Like right now we have so many animals that are dying out because they have no more food. The things that they ate are gone. So yield on here could be for habitat corridor. One thing I'm interested in is the monarch butterflies that are, decimated. They're endangered because milkweeds used to be all around the United States. Where I grew up in the Midwest, there were milkweeds everywhere, and they blew around. And well, they've just destroyed them because people thought they're weeds. And these monarch butterflies on the West Coast have to fly thousands of miles from Canada, along, now to Southern California, and they're dying out because they don't have little areas to go. And we know about the bees being endangered, and 1 out of 3 mouthfuls of everything we get thanks to bees, to pollination. So that when you look at this property, you could think about yield for humans, for the community, but also yield for species that might be endangered or not here. Also, there are deer around here. You could think about having things for them to eat, like way down there, so that they don't come up here and eat the other little delicate things that you want.
On the borders.
Yeah. And the yield also is in terms of beauty, aesthetics, cultural enrichment, regenerating. Okay.